All right. Let's clap it up. Clap it up. Back again. Don't take no days off. You know, it's Tuesday is brotherhood class. Like we always say with brotherhood, it's synonymous with sisterhood. Anything we say for one goes for the other. We are all under the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. You know, with that, we're the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Started out at 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General Yohana. We've been bringing this truth since 1969. And that truth is that the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and natives are the descendants of the greatest people that ever walked the face of this earth. And the Bible identifies us as the true biblical Jews. It's hard for a lot of people to understand, to grasp that, especially with the image that the so-called Jew has given the name Jew. You understand? And because of the image that they've been given, it's hard for us to believe, even fathom that we are those Jews that the Bible talks about. You understand? We were subjugated to a lot of things. Oh, shoot, I thought you was waving your hand, sis. We were subjugated to a lot of things in Egypt, right? We were basically slaves in Egypt. We were those slaves. What did they do to come up out of Egypt? What got them out of bondage? What got them out of bondage is coming under the command of the Most High. You understand? Following the law, statutes, and commandments. They cried out to the Most High. You understand? And that's what's going on today. Those cries are being heard. The cries are getting louder and louder. Basically, America is Egypt today. You understand? A lot of people look at America as a democracy. America has never been a democracy for the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and natives. America has only been a democracy of what they call it to the so-called oppressor. You understand? It has never been a democracy for us. It has always been a communist country. Because what happens in a communist country? Things happen in a communist country. They suppress your freedom of speech. What's going on today? Our freedom of speech is being suppressed. You can't say certain things. Think about it, right? On the news, they can say whatever. But you cannot say what you want to say. You understand? That's a communist country. Think about it. If you do something out of the ordinary, if you call yourself a so-called, or if you call yourself the real Jew, they can freeze your bank account. They can take money from you. That's a communist. Communist is being in control of the people. And we look at Russia as though Putin is a communist country, and we're not. Everything that Putin's doing in Russia is the same thing that's happening to us here. We just don't look at it as that because if we call it a democracy, so we think a democracy and a communist country are two different things. What we're gonna look at today is we're gonna look at America's destruction of black and brown families. This thing we believe has been happening since we hit the shores of America. All right. The destruction of black and brown families began the day we hit the shores of America and never stopped. The disdain for the Most High's chosen people has been one of utter cruelty, hate, and disdain. America has always let us know how they felt about us, the so-called slaves. whether it be by the laws created, such as the Black Codes, Jim Crow laws, the lynchings and hangings, or just the simple burnings of the crosses on our lawn. You understand? We all seen the pictures. Think about it, right? Even they got so creative with it that they showed us being lynched on postcards, sending I love yous to their loved ones with us being lynched on the front of it, right? Listen, let's as a matter of fact, Cat, if you can, grab me Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 7. And we're gonna delve into this a little bit. We're gonna take it one step at a time. We're gonna look at America and her ways. You understand? I mean, think about it, right? I don't want to make too much of a comparison, but look at what Israelis are doing to the Palestinians. You understand? Murdering them just cause. Oh, Salakia. Unaliving them just cause. You understand? Well, let me ask a question. Isn't the same thing happening to us here in America? What's the difference? You understand? So let's just take it a step further. And they talking about Israelis and war crimes, right? People want to hold the Israelis accountable for the war crimes that's going on. So let me ask a question. Who's going to hold America accountable for the war crimes that have been done against us? Because believe it or not, we are a nation in ourselves. We are a nation within a nation. You understand? You got that, Cap?
Con.
Can we read that?
Con. Deuteronomy chapter, excuse me. Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 7. Remember the days of old.
It says, remember the days of old. A lot of times we forget the days of old. We forget the things that have happened to us. When the Ukrainians began to be run over by the Russians, right? We went out, we pulled up flags and everything like that, right? When the things happened in France, what was that, about 2 years ago? Everybody had France logos and stickers all over everything that they had.
Saying pray for Paris.
Saying pray for them. You understand what I'm saying? Even with the Afghan war, a lot of people were against the Afghan war. You know, we don't need to be there. We don't need to be messing with, you understand? But nobody stands up for us. When it comes to the atrocities that have happened to us, nobody cries out for us. Nobody says, you understand, why is that happening? No, think about it, right? As much as you got these so-called blackity black brothers and sisters out there calling themselves Africans, no African nation stood up for us, stands up for us, or will stand up for us. You understand? We are being destroyed by America today. Now, America has been trying for some years to destroy the black family. You understand? We have seen this since we hit the shores of America, right? But they have not been able to break apart the fine, strong fabric of the black family until the 1960s. But what happened in the 1960s that they all of a sudden got an epiphany or a great idea or resolution on how to destroy the black family? How did they do it? What happened in that time period? You know what happened? Drugs is a part of it, but it's something that happened before the drugs. Something that happened before the drugs. Something a little bit before that. Huh? Something a little before that. I'm going to give it to you, right? It was the Vietnam War, right? And a lot of people believe the Vietnam War started around 1963, 64, something like that, right? But in fact, the Vietnam War actually started in 1955. It was actually a Cold War. You understand? And it being a Cold War, of course, Russia had their hand in on one side, and America had their hand in on the other side. With America and Russia have always been at Cold Wars. When you look at a lot of these countries that are broken up, when you have a North and a South, it's not that these countries are going to war with each other. It's America and Russia going to war with each other. They are using these countries as pawns. You understand? So in that Vietnam War, remember a lot of the wars that America has been associated with all the way up into the Vietnam War, nobody wanted to have the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and natives in the war. No one wanted to fight alongside them in the war. You understand? It was a force. Each war that we fought in, and we fought in every war in America, each war that we fought in, the only reason why we were participating in those wars up until that point was because America was on the brink of losing a war. You understand what I'm saying? And with the Vietnam War, America understood that they couldn't afford not to have us in that war. But in every war, even up to the Vietnam War, they placed the black soldiers on the front line. We were the first to go in. We were the first to be destroyed. You understand? Just like in the what was that? Salaki, sorry if I may. Was that the Christmas actress in the American Revolution? Wasn't he the first person killed in the American Revolution? Christmas actress.
I'm not sure.
In the American Revolution, right? It's always us being first. We always being the first at the most negative things dealing with America. You understand? So in the 1960s, brothers were entered into the Vietnam War. We were naturally placed on the front lines. Within being in that Vietnam War, what happened in those? All right, let's pull back a little bit. Things happened in that Vietnam War, which you said with the drugs. It was opium, right? Remember, opium is not our thing. Opium is an Asian thing. This is where all the opium dens come from. This is where you have your first quote unquote crack houses. You understand? These things were Asian things. These things they sold this and had places, houses that they went and got out. This was started with them. It rolled over into our oppressor and got funneled into us. So, can you hit that again for me, Cap?
Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 7. Remember the days of old.
A lot of times we have to remember the days of old. We have to remember the things that we've already been through. You understand? Because when we forget the things that we've been through, we tend to go through them again. We have to keep reiterating. We have to tell our children, remember the days of old. Remember when this happened to us? We can't let these things continue to happen to us. You understand? We can't continue to forget what our oppressor has done to us and is doing to us to this day. You understand? Go ahead.
Consider the years of many generations.
Consider the years of many generations. Consider the many years of generations that these things have been happening to us, all the way from the Reconstruction, all the way. Think about it. In 1871, the labor union was created to box us out of jobs. You understand what I'm saying? Remember, coming out of so-called slavery, the artisans of all the skilled laborers was the so-called slave. You understand? We were the skilled labor. We were the ones who had all of the talent. So right after the Reconstruction, remember, this was after the Civil War, everything North and South was tore up. mainly in the South. So things had to be rebuilt, right? So in having things rebuilt, who were the best builders? So-called slaves, right? So if the so-called slaves were the best builders, you could hire them as cheap labor. You didn't have to pay them the price that it actually cost to rebuild. Well, our oppressor saw this happening and he got furious. So he created the labor union. And then the first labor union was all white labor unions. And you had to be white to get into the labor union. If you weren't in a labor union, you couldn't do carpentry. You couldn't do masonry. You couldn't build anything without being in the labor union. Boom. Here we go. You understand? Move fast forward. You come up to the 1930s, the 40s, and the 50s, where you got the black codes. You understand? We couldn't be on the corner. We couldn't do certain things. Fast forward, Jim Crow laws. Certain places we couldn't go. You understand? Now we're going into the 1960s, right? In the 50s into the 60s, now you have the beginning of the civil rights movement. 1955, the civil rights movement. You understand? We're going into Vietnam. Now, as we're in Vietnam, the war was so treacherous that our brothers began to use those drugs in that war. You understand what I'm saying? So in them using those drugs in that war, a lot of brothers came home addicted. You understand? Now, remember, as they're all the way up into that, they destroyed a lot of our cities and towns. So brothers and sisters are not coming home to what we call the cities in Detroit, Seneca Village, Tulsa, Oklahoma. You understand? Remember all of those riots. Remember the Colfax massacre, the Wilmington race riots. All of these things were cities and towns that we had. They destroyed. They destroyed these things because they could see that if they left us to our own, we would surpass them. Remember, when they destroyed Tulsa, Oklahoma, they were in their Great Depression. You understand? They were in their Great Depression and we were thriving. Why were we thriving? We were with each other. And they understood that that bond that we had, that they had to destroy that bond. So the first thing that they allowed to happen was they allowed brothers in Vietnam to get hooked onto those drugs. And then what they did in the 60s, they began to funnel that heroin and all of this opium into our neighborhoods. You understand what I'm saying? Into our neighborhoods. So in funneling all of this into our neighborhoods, what happened? Brothers come home under oppression. Brothers thought that they were going to fight in a war and come home to a hero's welcome. You understand? But that did not happen. Not only did they not come home to a hero's welcome, but they came home to be unemployed. Go ahead.
My father's uncle, he was a basketball player, superstar. It was all in the capable times back then.
Right.
I wasn't born, but he went to the war.
Right.
And my father's brother, because I never knew, it was a bunch of stories surrounding how he died.
Right.
So my father's brother told me, because he always tells me the truth when I ask questions about my family.
Right.
And he said, our uncle started getting high. So I'm like, really? He said, I thought he was a basketball player and he was in the war. I looked at him as a hero here in the story.
Right.
And he said, no, this is what happened. He went over there. They would use morphine.
Right.
To ease their pain.
Right.
They started getting addicted to it because they liked how it felt. He came home wanting that feeling.
Right.
Because he had nothing else to come home to.
Right.
And then he ended up stealing, robbing, and everything just went downhill. I killed over a drug deal because he became addicted to the very thing that they told him was helping him cope with his pain.
They didn't.
And it was that's what my uncle told me. I'm like, oh, that's that was a lot to take in. It was crazy to hear that.
Right. A lot of brothers get hooked on that morphine. A lot of brothers get hooked on that opium.
Mm-hmm.
Then when they send you home, they give you no help. So the only help you have is your support system or your family when you come home. But if you don't have a strong support system, or if no one can diagnose your problem early enough, then these are the things that happen to us. You understand? So in allowing these brothers to come home under these influences, they, at the same time, you had them funneling these same drugs into our neighborhood. So let's just say your uncle comes home on that addiction. He's going to look for that thing to help him cope. Well, here it is. You understand? Now, this is where we can drop that. I'm going to read this one, Kat. I'm going to go to Exodus.
Okay.
Exodus chapter 1, verse 10. Exodus chapter 1, verse 10. Now, remember this, right? When we were to ourselves, we had our own cities and towns. Like I said, we had Tulsa, Oklahoma, Colfax. You had cities in Colfax, Virginia. You had Wilmington, Seneca Village in New York, Rosewood in Florida. We had black cities and towns all around the country. You understand? Well, by this time,
They call it DC Chocolate City.
oh man, listen, Kat. I lived through the end of that era. I was alive in the end of Chocolate City when DC was Chocolate City. You understand? I was at the end of that era. You understand? And it's a shame to know that when you controlled something at one time and then all of a sudden it's just snatched from you, and now you're under the thumb of the very people that hate you. You understand what I'm saying? All of these cities and towns we had doctors. You understand? We had therapists at that time to help our people cope with the stresses outside of our cities and towns that we lived in. You understand? You got that, Cap? Can we read that?
Exodus chapter 1, verse 10. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when they're fallen out any war, they join also unto our enemies, and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land.
Understand something, right? It said, let us deal wisely. And this is what America has done with the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and natives. They have dealt wisely with us. They have contemplated. They sat and they laid out a plan to deal wisely with us, to destroy our homes, to destroy our cities and our towns. You understand? Because America also understood, just like Egypt did, that we have to deal wisely with them, because if they get too much power, they're going to be over us. And if we decide to go to war with a Russia, with a China, with a Korea, or someplace like that, they may join with them. So America has destroyed us in a way to make us dependent on them. You understand? America dealt wisely with us. I mean, look at the condition that we in today. A lot of our brothers and sisters, and we say this all the time, believe that we are not slaves here in America. But when you don't own where you live at, or anything where you live at, when you have to go to your oppressor for food, when you have to go to your oppressor for work, when you have to go to your oppressor for housing, when you have to ask to leave the country and come back, when you have to have a pass, that's a slavery. That's a slave. Oppressor pulls you over. What's the first thing he asks you for? License and registration. What's that? That's your pass. If you don't have your pass, what happened? Lock you up. You understand? We got to understand our oppressor has dealt wisely with us. See, we look at things when we do things, we look at things a day or two ahead, a week at the most. You understand? Sometimes we make a plan a year ahead when we want to plan that vacation. But our oppressor is 10, 20, and 30 years in the making. Think about that book, Cap, you was just talking about the other day. What was the name of the book that you said? The Black Image in the Minds of Whites.
Okay.
How long did it take him to write that book?
Took him a minute, right?
100 years. 100 years study.
Oh, we got that book in here, right?
Yeah, you showed it. You showed it in your class the other day.
I don't even remember.
Listen, 100 years study. And we only think to the next week about our
That's
oppressor.
in the camp quarter.
I thought you had it up here. You showed it.
No, that was enough to teach us.
But you said something about the book. Or did you show it on the phone?
I don't even remember. That's a lot.
It's a black image in the minds of whites. You understand? I know you said something about it. You may not have showed the book, but you said something about it. You understand? They have dealt wisely with us. I mean, look, think about it. Look at us. Think about this, right? They dealt so wisely with us. We don't believe in elections, right? But a lot of our brothers and sisters do believe in elections. So let's say we have an election right here, right? And we say we want somebody to be the head of us, and we all raise our hand, right? Now, you raise his hand, you raise, I knew I raised my hand, right? But that person that we elect doesn't win. How is that? Because they deal wisely. They know how to control the masses. They understand how to do any. Think about it, right? Millions of people vote, but they choose who you vote for. You don't say who you want. We think we saying who we want, but they dealt so wisely with us that we really think we're choosing who we want. Go ahead, Kat.
Today was Super Tuesday. We don't even know who the other candidates was. Like nobody even maybe like one or two like popular candidates like Cornel West,
Right?
Or like that's about it. Really, I don't even know any other candidates. Like they put these two figures heads for each party every 4 years,
Right.
and you don't even know these other cats that's running. Yeah, hardly.
Listen, wait a minute. Let me see. I'm gonna show you how you get boxed out. This is how wisely they dealt with us. I'm gonna show you how we got boxed out. What's a war chest?
I don't even know.
All right. You know the war chest is? A war chest is how many people you can get to donate to your cause. The person with the most money in their war chest moves forward. What does that mean? What does that mean?
It's a money game.
It's a money game. That's the base. But the cherry on top. What's the cherry on top? What's the cherry on top? I know you know, Kat.
Listen, come on.
The cherry on top is if he can collect this much money, right? He can give money to my cause. He can help my company get to where we need to be. He can pass laws that we need to do to bend corners, to cut corners. So think about who wins every election. The person with the most money. It has not, think about it, right? It has not, all right, before Trump, don't think about Ronald Reagan. What did Trump know about politics? What did he know about
Business.
politics?
He didn't know nothing about politics. He knew about business, bro.
He didn't know anything about politics, so it has nothing to do with politics. You understand what I'm saying? It has everything to do with who has the most money. Remember, they always say America is a capitalistic society. It's about money. They deal so wisely with us that we don't see that it has nothing to do with politics. It has everything to do with who has the most money. Think about it. Just back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, in the 80s, abortions was illegal. Then into the mid 80s, they began to legalize it. Into the 90s, it was normal. Cap, I believe you said this in one of your classes before, when LGBTQ was considered a disease in the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s.
Mental illness.
A mental illness, right? So when you get LGBTQs into Congress, into the House, into the Senate, now we have enough money to pass laws to now make it what they call it, an alternative lifestyle. They already know it's a chemical imbalance. They deal wisely with us to have us believe it. So now, oh no, it's nothing wrong with it. You can do what you want to do. It's an alternative lifestyle. Who created an alternative lifestyle? The last I remember, the Most High said that he made male and female. There is no alternative lifestyle. The Bible tells us that mankind shall not lie with mankind. Now, I don't want to get too far off, right? But we was on the they letting our brothers come home, right? So when the brothers come home and can't get help, what happens? And before you hit that, it said, come let us deal wisely with them. And everything that happens to us, this is America dealing wisely with us. You understand what I'm saying? America has dealt very wisely with us. So now you have a man, a woman, and children. A man coming home to his family, right? Man coming home to his family, but because he's opium addicted, he can't get a job. So what happens? See, because now it's not the woman just feeding the child. Now she's feeding a child and an adult male, right? So what happens? She has to do what? There you go. So she has to get on welfare, right? I got an article right here. Let me grab it. Let me see. She has to get on welfare. So a lot of brothers have been through this. Where we at? Okay, here we go. I got the wrong article. Anyway, listen, I'm a talk it out. Sisters have to get on welfare. And the first thing that happens, right? What do they tell you when you go down to get on welfare? What's the first thing they tell you? They tell you somebody's got to go. Listen.
Oh, they'll tell you in a they'll tell you don't qualify.
Or they tell you don't qualify.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to go on and we're going to take the avenue of qualifying because I lived through this part.
Mm-hmm.
I actually experienced this in 1990, 1991. You understand? They tell you, they say, how many people live in a household? You tell them how many people live in a house. Well, somebody can't be there. Who can't be there? Your man can't be there. So in order for you to get public assistance, he cannot be in the same household. Now, remember, they started this in the 70s because men came home in the 60s from being in the war in the 50s. You understand what I'm saying? So it's a trickle effect. Everything is created for a trickle down effect. You understand? Not a trickle up, not to make you better, but it's to tear you down effect. And this is how America destroys the black family. See, we always thought that slavery was going to destroy the black family, but they knew, looking at it even after the Reconstruction, that slavery didn't destroy the black family.
Right.
It hurt a lot of black lives, but it didn't destroy the black family. Remember, all the way up until 1960, 78% of families were together, married together. You understand what I'm saying? All the way up until 1960. They understood that beatings, whippings, you understand, the wars couldn't destroy the black family. Slavery couldn't destroy the black family. So they put into play drugs was the first linchpin. The second thing was welfare. Not understanding that coming home addicted to opioids or heroin was going to cause an effect within the family, which it did just what the oppressor had planned. Woman has to get welfare. Now she has to put her opium addicted husband out, or heroin addicted husband out. You understand? So now, after welfare, what happens? There you go. So now they take child support. Do you know how child support has destroyed the black family? They found the very linchpins and placed them in particular order to destroy the black family from the inside out. You understand? Listen, it says outrage call. This is from Time magazine, right? Outrage calls for racial justice have come to a new battleground, child welfare, right? In a reckoning of racism triggered by George Floyd's killing, and this is a recent article, but it explains everything. George Floyd killing, decades of complaints of black families hurt by the child welfare system are bubbling over into public protest, though small compared to demonstrations against police abuse. And think about it, right? Even police abuse, the murders of brothers and sisters, you understand, couldn't tear apart the black family. It's amazing that something so simple as child welfare, you look at it as something simple, but can tear a whole family apart just like that. Because let's just look at it. Let's stand back and look at it, right? If you put a man on child support, there's disdain between you and him. Once the disdain comes between you and him, the disdain comes between the child too, because now the child gets torn between mother and father. Mm-hmm. Your child does not want to hurt the mother by loving the father, and doesn't want to hurt the father by loving the mother. So what happens with a child?
Get destroyed.
You get destroyed, and the children can't beat the mother or father, so they rebel.
Act out, lash out.
Lash out in school,
yep,
on the streets, or take to the streets. Go ahead, sis.
And if you have a toxic mother, the child will gravitate towards the mom because the mom will be toxic.
Say that again.
If you have a toxic mother, that child will gravitate towards that mother because that child you feel with a bunch of poison and hate towards that father.
The sister said, if you have a toxic mother, that child will gravitate towards that mother because of the toxicity.
Yep.
You understand? And children tend to gravitate more towards the parent that they're living with. And not to mention, it's more of a gravitational pull towards the mother, because even if they live with the father, they tend to gravitate to the mother more. You understand what I'm saying? And this is what America
Created. They created that.
they created, but this is what they hope for. You understand what I'm saying? Because the strength of us, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and natives in America today is family.
And look, if I could, it's indoctrinated. It's indoctrinated not only through the system, but through their religion.
Exactly.
That Mother Mary concept, even that Mother Mary concept is not even in the Bible.
Right.
It really comes from, it's really all Babylonian, but it comes from the story of the Greek guy, right?
Was that
And the Greek guy, I think it was Kronos. Kronos was trying to unalive the babies, and the mothers Rhea and Gia was trying to save the baby. Like it's all.
she took the baby and
Yeah.
dropped the stone in his mouth and
All of
everything
that.
like that. Yeah, that was Kronos. Yeah, exactly.
It's all it's all indoctrinated in your head. You don't even know. We don't even know we've been taught it since inception to hate your father.
It's Christianity. And that Christianity, that Christian philosophy has totally destroyed us.
It's like Christ's father didn't even exist.
Didn't it?
Literally in Christianity.
Look, I was getting ready to say that, right? They have totally, in Christianity, they have totally removed the father from the whole picture.
Yeah.
You understand? Oh, Joseph wasn't the father. That wasn't the real father. You understand? It's the mother. It's about the mother. And everything is about the mother. You understand? So they have indoctrinated us. What is that? Is that Salakia, if I may, sir? That's the seal on the hand and on the forehead. They have it in our minds. And then we use our
Mark of the Beast.
mark of the beast, and the action that we carry out, the action that we destroy our own families. The action is us leaving our wives or our wives leaving us, breaking up the family. You understand? That's the mark of the beast in every way. You understand? So they said, come, let us deal wisely with them. You understand? Remember, in every thriving society, there must be a permanent underclass of people for that society to thrive. If there is not that society, that society falls. Now, what I'm saying is in every country that you go to, right, there's an upper class and a lower class. The upper class must have a lower class for that society to thrive. Everybody in the upper class must have somebody that they can feed off of. The upper class always feeds off the lower class, right? Dr. Claude Anderson said that so-called blacks, Hispanics, and natives are a permanent underclass in America, right? We don't have any say. What was the law that was created that put us in the condition that we are in right here today? What was that law that was created? It was a specific law that was created to make sure that we became and stayed a permanent underclass in America. Particular law. Give you a hint. It was created in 1638. 1638, a law that was created to keep us permanent underclass, as a permanent underclass. I give it to you. And a lot of people need to look this up on their phone because this law was created in 1638 and was not resolved or not dissolved. It's called the Doctrine of Exclusion. The Doctrine of Exclusion. And it was created in Maryland first. It's called the Maryland Doctrine of Exclusion of 1638. The Doctrine of Exclusion clearly states that any slave, descendant of a slave, or black person shall not enjoy the fruits of white society. What does that mean? What does that mean? How do you enjoy the fruits of white society?
Going to their parties, their clubs, and investing in their businesses and making money off of that.
That's small. How do you enjoy the fruits of white society? Let me ask you a question. Is Jerry Jones enjoying the fruits of white society?
Yeah, damn right.
Is Mark Zuckerberg enjoying the fruits of white society? Is Elon Musk enjoying the fruits of white society? Now, I'm going to ask you a trick question. Is Kanye West enjoying the fruits of white society?
Ooh-wee.
Is Kyrie Irving enjoying the fruits of white society? Is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar enjoying the fruits of white society? I'm going to give you a slick one. Is Shaquille O'Neal
Right.
enjoying the fruits of white society? Explain to you why not. In order to enjoy the fruits of white society, you have to be able to stand on a podium and say, I'm going to lock up anybody coming across that border that is illegal. I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to say what I want to say. That book that you took $2 million from Kyrie Irving, I refuse to stop selling that book. That's the fruit of white society, when you can stand and you can build an empire and you can do what you want to do. Oprah Winfrey can't do that, because if Oprah Winfrey steps out of line, Oprah Winfrey will be in this class with us. If Shaquille O'Neal says anything out of line, I don't care how many Papa John commercials he got or General commercials he got,
Right.
You'll never see him again. See, to enjoy the fruits of white society
Yes.
is to be able to do and say what you want to say and not have to worry about the recourse.
Dana White.
Dana White. He says what he wants to say and does what he wants to do. No recourse.
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. That's who I was getting at. Donald Trump. He says what he wants to say. Donald Trump says what's on his mind, and there is no recourse. They're a bunch of rapists and murderers. That's wait a minute. Isn't that character defamation or something like that?
Definition of character.
Defamation of character of a whole nation of people. If I'm not mistaken, didn't the Europeans come over here, rape, rob, and murder the so-called natives?
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't they steal Arizona, Texas, and all that from the Hispanics?
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't they enslave us and destroy us for over 500 years?
Okay.
That's enjoying the fruits of white society. When you have a history like that and don't have to pay for it, when you can do what you want to do and not have to worry about the recourse. I'm not saying that there won't be any recourse for it, because we do know that there will be. You understand what I'm saying? They created a law to keep us as a permanent underclass in 1638. That law has not been dissolved. A lot of people say, "Oh no, we got all kinds of freedom." Somebody tell me, what kind of freedoms do we have? When you can say what you want to say, right? And then your Twitter account gets blocked. All of your accounts get shut down. Didn't YouTube get shut down today, or Facebook got shut down today?
God.
They can turn you off whenever they want. We
Hey,
believe
listen, actually, Gaza Strip.
Oh yeah, look at the Gaza Strip. Think about what's going on now, right? You did the Dukes last night, right? The Dukes. Duke Amalek.
Right.
Is destroying the Palestinians. So much so that they're taking the land that was so-called owned by the Palestinians, and they said they are not allowing them to keep that land. Isn't that what they did to the natives? This is what they did to the natives over here, right? America. Let me ask you: Is America against this?
What can I say something?
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir.
We just want a ceasefire. If we get a ceasefire now, for the next 6 weeks, we can turn it into a permanent ceasefire and it'll all be over. Meanwhile, they handing down billions and billions of dollars in military aid to the Israelis.
To the Israelis, to a people who have no military power.
Yeah.
Against a people who have no military power. I'm not saying the Israelis have military power.
Yep.
Palestinians. Now, I could care one way or the other.
Right.
You're just using this as an example. You understand?
Right.
The Palestinians have no military power. But this is what America can do, because America has dealt wisely with us. And now we're taking sides one way or the other. We don't take sides here. This is not our war. But we're using this as an example. Just what America did to the natives is what's happening to the Palestinians today. And America is giving them billions and billions. Didn't they just give them some billions again along with that Ukrainian package?
You passed another.
That's another one. You know, Ukraine got that money. Now think about this, right? Ukraine was the richest city aside from the Kremlin over there near Russia. What did they need money for? Why couldn't they pay for their own? What did they need welfare for? They cry about us getting welfare. We get too much welfare. That little $500, $600 you got, oh, that's too much. But they can get $362 million. That was on a card. We ain't talking about the 1.2 billion.
And then the whole, if I could say something real quick, and then the whole earth cried when the so-called Mexican man got a little bit of food stamps.
Right.
Got a little Visa card. He got some crumbs.
With $100.
With $100, and the whole earth cried. I can't believe they gave him the blah.
With $100.
Man, you out of your goddamn mind.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna tell you what hurt the most. What hurt the most is to see our brothers and sisters out
coming
there
up,
crying about it.
Coming up against it. And you're so right. Go ahead.
It hurt the most because we sit and watch Ukraine get billions.
Yes.
And
the Israelis.
We sit and watch the Israelis, and we've known about the so-called small hats getting this money since I was in Pimlico Junior High School. We knew they got money. We used to always ask, how is this dude walking the neighborhood every day living in that house with 11 kids? Never went to work. We never see him go to work. Summertime, we running around playing. He walking up and down the street too. Because we used to go out their neighborhood and ride our bikes.
Right.
And we like, yo, how is they doing? Listen, I don't want to sidetrack too much because you got me there. They have synagogues with parking lots for strollers.
Jeez.
Strollers.
Mm.
We go through cross country right out Pikesville. They have a whole area that's theirs.
Right.
They own everything there. When you rent in those apartments, you renting from them.
Right.
You ride past 2 or 3 synagogues. The parking lot is big as this building right here with nothing but double wide, triple wide strollers.
Mm.
You ever seen a triple wide
Yeah.
stroller?
Yeah.
Just imagine seeing 10, 20 of those
Out front.
out front. And they got them parked in parking spots. They have, it's not no, you just push it up where it's a parking lot
For children.
for babies and children, toddlers, parking lot, the strollers. I had to slow down and whip around and go back and look at it again. How do you get that much money? You get that much money off the back of a lot because, like we said earlier, they have dealt wisely with us. So much so that we never even think about it. As a kid, I didn't think about it. I didn't say, like, how did they do that? It's not till I got older and began to learn, especially when I came into the UPK. Because even when I got older, I really didn't care. I figured they was doing their thing. I'm going to do mine, you know? But come to find out, they really doing their thing. We always look at them, and I don't want to get too far off, but we always look at them and say, well, it's not their fault that they work hard. They hardly work.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I worked at Kaplan Deli for a whole year. Worked every day, never missed a day. We had a family reunion coming up. My mother said, well, let them know you're going to the family reunion. I said, oh, Mom. They didn't want to let me off for the family reunion. Guess what? I quit. For a whole year, I never missed a day. You don't want to let me go to my family reunion? They could care less about us. They could care less about us. They deal wisely with us. Child welfare. So now, after the child welfare, what happens? What happens after the child welfare? Child support. So when my kid's mother got the welfare, they sent a letter in the mail saying, you have to put him on child support. So we had to go down to child support and put me on child support. So I told them I ain't have a job. So guess what they did? They took the last job I was at and used that number and said, this is how much you owe every week. Now, whether you get a job or not, that's not up to us, but this is how much you're going to owe. If you don't pay this and it gets backed up a certain amount, we come in to lock you up.
They take your license.
Take your license, you know, and they started that right after I got on it. For years, I drove and didn't know I didn't have a license. Didn't know I didn't have a license. I went to court one day, and the judge was like, you've been driving around this long and didn't know your license was suspended? I said, how was I supposed to know? My license was suspended so long, I think my license was suspended like 8 years. She was like, well, shit. I slacked. She didn't say that. Well, she said, well, dang, you know, you must have turned into a good driver. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just suspend your license for one day. You go down DMV, blah, 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 and that was it. Because I had drove and never got pulled over again.
8 years.
8 years. I didn't know my license was suspended.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
That's a good driver right there. That's a lot.
Right. Because after you do something a certain amount of time, like I had a whole bunch of tickets, but I went and paid those tickets off, and then guess what happened? That's when they threw the points on me. Yeah. So you don't get the points until after you pay the tickets. And once I paid the tickets, then they threw the point, 6 points.
Sheesh.
License suspended. Bop. That's how that happened. Yep.
I don't think a lot of, I mean, I've never been the one, like, child support is not my thing.
Right.
And I don't knock certain situations. But I think a lot of times, a lot of females, they get so worked up and they get in their own head and they listen to a bunch of nonsense.
Right.
They don't understand when a man gets put on child support, they're like, okay, we'll take the money. I'm gone.
Right.
I don't have to deal with this.
Right.
And my mom, never been a child support person. She, like, you know, she has 2 different men that father her children. And my mom's like, I'm taking them off. Like,
Right.
I have to make sure that my children know who their fathers are. They
Right.
have to have a relationship with their fathers because one day I might not be here. And I can't always do it. I have 2 sons who barely listen to me. They need their dads. And my dad and my stepdad weren't always perfect, but they were present.
Right.
And that meant more to us than anything, because my mom can go get a job and pay my own bills.
Right.
You know, over the weekend, we can get jobs and pay for what we want.
Right.
And we always thank my mom and appreciated my mom for giving us that, because I had a great relationship with my dad, I had a wonderful relationship with my stepdad before he passed away. And it was because my mom's like, I can't do this child support thing. If I do, they may leave.
Right.
And these children will need their dad.
Right.
And we have a well-blended family because of the woman that my mom is.
And that was the same thing with me, right? My mother never took my father to child support. You know, my mother said, it is what it is. I take care of him. Now, with my sister's father, it was different because he was a serviceman. So he was forced onto child support, but she never pursued. I think the day my sister died, he owed like $53,000. My mother never looked for it, never even pursued it, nothing like that. My mother gone, my sister gone, and my sister father just died not too long ago. You understand what I'm saying? Some of us are like that. Some people are like that. But then what America knows is that for the majority of us, it's a different story.
Right.
You understand? And America knows that if we lay this on them right here, we know that this is going to destroy the family right here. Once you get onto that child support, they know for the most part, 4 out of 8 brothers is going to get locked up behind child support. What's the brother in South Carolina that the police
I forgot his name.
shot him in the back because he had a child support warrant out for him. He jumped out. The police tried to say that he took his gun, but they saw on camera that he didn't. Convicted the police. But running for child support, a lot of brothers run because of that child support and end up locked up or shot in the back. You understand what I'm saying? And America counts on that because they know that this is what's going to help us. And then when brothers get out, a lot of brothers have lost their job because of this. Now, when you out and you got bills constantly accumulating because child support has a law that says that even if you're locked up, your child support continues. And they try to put a veil over top of it by saying while you're locked up, you can appeal and go for these appeals to get it reduced, not stopped, but reduced. If a man is not working, what does reducing child support do? Still going up, right? Still going up. By the time he gets out, have you ever seen a brother get a job, child support hit that job, and then he quit that job and go to another job because they take so much money from you in child support that a brother can't survive? These are the linchpins. They're from the drugs to the coming home to no job. I listen to it. Listen, this is another. I don't want to get too far off again. I was at work the other day. I was in the bathroom. I listened to a brother on the phone with a lawyer talking about because he was smoking weed and got into a forklift accident. Am I going to lose my job? I got a medical card. He
lost his job.
He lost his job. That's what I said while I was sitting there. I said, yeah, boy, you lost your job.
Straight up.
These are the vices that they use, drugs. Legalizing marijuana is a linchpin for them to tear us down even more. We think because it's legal, now we can go, and now brothers are coming to work under the influence. Now, let's just say it's not affecting your ability to work effectively. But if something happens and they send you to Concentra, and then they find that in your system, they have means to fire you, because in that contract, in every contract when you work, it doesn't say if you have a medical card, then we're going to forgive you. They fire you under the influence. It's still a drug.
Like, if I could, like, we can't enjoy, like you mentioned earlier, the fruits of this place. You understand?
Right.
The trinkets of this place. You gonna get the low end of the deal.
Right. Wait a minute. Hold up. Let's go back a few years. Do you remember that Elon Musk, when he did that interview and he was on TV smoking weed?
Yeah.
You remember that? You didn't see that? He's enjoying the fruits of white society.
And listen, if you ever ride past these dispensaries, it's a line full of Edomites, y'all.
Yeah.
It's a line full of them.
Right.
They just like that so-called Amalek dude with them 11 kids.
Right.
They ain't got no gig.
He got no gig.
They chilling, enjoying America.
Wait a minute. All right, we don't go too far.
I'm just saying.
Listen, wait. You so right, because I'm gonna tell you what. I was working at the job that I'm at now, the job that I was at before that. It was a guy on a job named Brandon, white guy. He said, "You know what I'm gonna do?" He said, "I'm gonna take about 6 months off and just live."
Nothing.
I'm trying to figure out, like,
how in the hell?
How do you do that? How do you take 6 months off and then I'm gonna come back in, and then I'm gonna come back into the industry, and I'm gonna do. And I'm saying to myself, like, yo, how you gonna pay your bills? Oh, I'll manage. I've done it before. Listen, these are the fruits of white society. You understand?
And listen, if I could, they work the same gig as you. Listen, that blows my mind.
Wait a minute, listen. But Cat, although he had a Yaris,
right.
That little car. Although he had a little car, a Yaris, it still was new. What you gonna do about the car payment and the
right
insurance? This is the whole time. Listen, I'm struggling with the old truck I got.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm saying, like, yo, how do they? This is the enjoyment of the fruits of white society. You understand? These are the things that we can't do. Every little thing that America does is to destroy our families. From brothers coming home from the war, being on opium, not being able to get jobs, wife having to get welfare, having to put them on child support, them not being able to pay the child support, and being locked up and in prison. The next class that we're going to do is going to be that second part. This is just the first part right here. We got into a little bit. We got off just a little bit, but the second part is the prison part, is the child support into prison. We're going to delve more into the child support and the prison side. Prison side, the child support is a money maker for every state that has a child support system. That money that they give you for welfare is given back in that child support and funneled back into that state. That prison system, because your husband gets locked up in that prison, it's amazing. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, $82,000 a year for every inmate. That was 3 years ago. I'm gonna get the numbers again. I worked in the prison system and I know. We did the class maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I had the numbers written down. I actually looked at them the other day. $82,000 per inmate. Now I know I worked K and J section. K had 96 inmates. J had 144. You do the numbers. Do the numbers. You understand what I'm saying? So now this is just 2 sections. Remember, a section goes from A to Z. A to Z. If you do the numbers, you'll understand what I'm talking about. You understand what I'm saying? America has totally destroyed our brothers and sisters, and we have to understand what's happening to us. We said it earlier. Remember the days of old. We have to remember the things that have already happened to us. We have to remember what is happening to us now. We can never forget. Remember the days of old. You understand what I'm saying? We have to understand that America does not love us. You understand? We have to love ourselves. We have to take our love away from America and all of these other nations. Every nation comes over here, steps over us, and has a foot up over us. Think about this. How does somebody from an Asian country with no education, can't even count, barely can count, come here, own the stores in your neighborhood? How does that happen? How do they make tens of thousands of dollars every month out of our neighborhoods, and we struggle from paycheck to paycheck? I always say this when I get into class, when we talk about them, Cap, they have a Potomac, Maryland. They have a whole section where it's nothing but Asian everything.
God.
You got schools, they got shopping centers, they got malls, they got gated communities. Everything them. Why can't we have everything us? Why can't we have everything us? Don't we deserve that? Think about it. America was built on the blood, sweat, and tears of the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and natives. And we own nothing in America. Listen, CNN said a few years ago that America broke over 177 peace treaties with the Native Americans. And they said they're still breaking them to this day. They ran a pipeline. They're running a pipeline through the land that they pushed them on. They have leaks, leaking and poisoning the water, the only water source that they have. They got babies in cages on the border. You ever see that picture of the sister feeding her baby through the fence?
God.
The father holding the baby and the baby suckling through the fence. They in a cage. Think about this, right? How many Ukrainian babies you seen in cages?
Right.
How many Afghans have you seen in cages?
Right.
The number one illegals over here are the Asians and the East Indians. And they think they're better than us. This is because we don't remember the days of old. We don't understand who our enemies are. The Bible tells us, trust not thine enemy. We trust everybody. We trust everybody so much so that we don't even trust our own people. We get more flack than anything when we tell our brothers and sisters out on the street, you are the true biblical Jews of the Bible. The Most High loves you and nobody else. We get more flack for that because we say the Most High loves you and only you. You are a special people. What does holy mean? Holy means to be separate. It tells us in the Bible, when the Most High created the nations, he separated them and put borders around. Separate them. When you separate something, that means you don't want this thing to mix with that. This is the reason why I always say, listen, if you giving me cabbage or greens, don't put it near my potato salad. I hate when they get mixed. You understand? I hate when my hot and my cold get mixed. This is how the Most High is. He don't want us to mix. Not that he doesn't want us to do business. You understand? But he doesn't want us to mix or mingle. This is the thing that America has placed into our heads. Listen, look at what's happening to us. Integration has totally destroyed us. And because of integration, we got veterans coming home, opium addicted, can't get jobs. Sister goes on welfare, has to put him on child support, can't pay child support. Now he's in prison. Boom, 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 boom. Child support in prison gonna be the next one. We're gonna break that down next week. Child support in prison. Child support is a heavy topic. I was doing the research studying. I didn't say research. I was doing the studying on the child support. That's a heavy subject. And the thing about it is I went through it. Didn't know it was as deep as it is, but I went through it. You understand? I want to do this. How much time we got there?
About 13 minutes.
Okay, let's do this then. Give me Ecclesiasticus chapter 10, verse 12. Oh, shit. Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 12.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 10, verse 12. The beginning of pride is when one departeth from the Most High.
Hey, listen, the beginning of pride is when one departed from the Most High. Listen, if we can't follow these laws, statutes, and commandments, if we can't follow what the Most High is telling us to do, that's our pride getting in the way. That's us putting us before anything. It says the beginning of pride is when one departed from the Most High. Go ahead.
And his heart is turned away from his maker.
And his heart is turned away from his maker. We trying to be a part of America instead of being a part of the Most High. Our hearts have turned to America and away from the Most High. Our hearts are in Egypt. Our hearts are in Sodom and Gomorrah. We love everything about America. We hate everything about the Most High. That's why we in the condition that we in. Had we listened, our brothers wouldn't be fighting in Vietnam. You listen to the Most High, fighting in wars that have nothing to do with us. That's why we in the condition. Think about this, right? We just did the Feast of Purim, right? The Feast of Purim 2 weeks ago, right? Feast of Purim?
Last book. Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. What was the thing that caused us to have the Feast of Purim? What was the factor that caused us to have the Feast of Purim? Why did we have the Feast of Purim?
Because we was triumphant, and getting back to the people that was going to destroy us.
Getting back at the people that was going to destroy us.
We was triumphant in doing that. And prior to that, that's the, stepped up in the ring and did her thing also. It was those two things.
What caused Esther? What put Esther in the position to have to be who she became?
Proper leadership, proper teaching.
Something before that.
Mordecai,
Something before that.
go ahead, give us that.
Yeah. It was a heathen. It was Vashti
Oh yeah,
being disobedient
yeah.
to her husband. And this should be a lesson to our sisters. It should be a lesson to us as brothers. When we become disobedient to the Most High, that one small disobedient that we think is a small disobedient can destroy our whole world. Vashti, because of one small disobedience, destroyed her whole world, but she put Esther in a position to make it even better for us. You understand? When we are disobedient as brothers and sisters, we put other people in a position to blossom. Because we didn't follow the Most High, we in the condition that we in right now. But because we're in the condition we in right now, the oppressor's in the condition he's in. One thing leads to another. When one thing goes down, another thing comes up. Remember, we always say, when one kingdom falls, another kingdom must rise, right? When our oppressor kingdom, which is falling now, our kingdom has to rise. The only way our kingdom is going to rise is if we follow the law, statutes, and commandments. Coming back, getting into these classes under commanding General Yohanan. You understand? We got to do what we got to do to put us in a better position. Every time we do something negative and out of the way, we put all these other nations ahead of us and put them in great position. Think about it. Asians come from rice paddy fields. These Afghans coming from sand dunes. They in Airbnbs now. How do you come from a mud hut to an Airbnb? Because we're not doing what we're supposed to do. Remember the days of old. Look at what's going on now. These things are happening for a reason. These things are happening because we're not following the Most High. The last days are right at hand. Remember, Christ said the kingdom of heaven is at hand. We have the power to change our condition. All we got to do is follow the law, statutes, and commandments. With that, we're the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General Yohanan. We've been bringing this truth since 1969. And what is that truth? That truth is that the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and natives are the descendants of the greatest people that ever walked the face of this earth. And the Bible identifies us as the true biblical Jews of the Bible. With that, turn the class over to Captain Sapari. I was ready to say it. You heard me? That was great. Priest and captain of 10,000 Sapari.
All right. Yeah, brother Powell, one more time. Excellent class. Yes, sir. Excellent class. We are the ISBK out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General Yohanan. New rules for brothers and sisters. When a new brother or a sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shut themselves of the world. After 6 months, if a brother or a sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or a sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. You will find this in Numbers 18:21 and Malachi 3:8-10. Use tenth in Hebrew and it's pronounced my Ishor. 10% of every penny of any increase the Most High gives you, give to the Treasury Department or teacher. Priest fund. Free will offering for priests, not mandatory. What's the amount you would like to give? Upcoming Holy Convocation. Passover. Make sure you drop that the fee in. You understand that fee is an all access pass to all the events that we going. And they just came out. They trying to throw in this paintball tournament. You know what I'm saying? So you got some youngsters out there that want to paintball. Get with the captain in your city. You understand? ASAP. All right. Remind Akim and Akwakim to check on social media such as ISUBK.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on for ISUBK events and materials. If a brother wants to be a trooper in the school, then he needs to start wearing all black, which includes black boots, shirt, pants, headband, or war star. With that, we're going to get one person salute to the t-shirt for the visual of Mayim Shabbat, Mayim, Barak, Yahaba Shimya Shabbat,
Yahaba Shemel Shabbat Thumb.
Mayim Matah, Soldier's turn. Sisters like Mayim will be stand. We're going to get one person salute to the sister for the visual of Mayim Shabbat, Mayim, Barak,
Yahab Shema Thumb Shemel Shabbat.
Shalom, Yahweh, Shalom, Alatah, Hashem Yahweh Shah.
Mayim Matah. Class is this.
Hey, Cap.